What if Urouge is the final Mad Monk villain? Urouge is one of the strangest unfinished pieces of One Piece. Every other supernova has already been used in a major way. Law became central to Punk Hazard, Dressrosa, and Wano. Kid rose and crashed against Shanks. Bonney became one of Egghead's emotional cores. Bege had Whole Cake. Drake, Hawkins, Apoo, and Killer all had their roles. Urouge is still waiting. He's the only worst generation captain from a sky island, and the last one who has not truly met Luffy, and his devil fruit is still unnamed, even though we know it converts damage into power. So if Elbaph is tying giants, sun worship, ancient lore, and possibly Sky Island history together, the Urouge agenda suddenly becomes way more serious. What if Urouge has been waiting in Elbaph this whole time? What if the Mad Monk is guarding the final road poneglyph? Well, I found 3 ways this story could continue. In the first theory, Urouge is not truly evil. He's the guardian who tests Luffy before the final road opens. The Straw Hats reach the upper layers of Elbaph after hearing rumors about a sky temple above the Sun World. Nami notices the clouds are wrong, almost like the old route to Skypiea. Robin gets quiet because the carvings around the giant village mention the monk who carries pain, and the red stone above the storm. Luffy hears none of this properly. He just sees a massive staircase climbing into the clouds and starts running. At the top, they find him. Urouge is sitting calmly in front of a huge sealed gate, smiling like he's been expecting them for days. His crew is nearby, but none of them move. Only a great bell, ancient ropes, and stone altar covered in sky symbols and giant runes stand behind him. Luffy asks if he's in the way. Urouge laughs and says yes. That's enough. The fight begins instantly. Luffy rushes in. He lands a massive hockey-coated punch, and Urouge takes it without falling. His body swells. The more damage he receives, the stronger he becomes. Luffy grins because he thinks this is fun. Zoro realizes the problem first. If Luffy keeps feeding him power, Urouge may become impossible to move. The fight is more like a trial than a death match. Urouge wants to see whether Luffy is the kind of pirate who destroys a sacred place just to win, so he keeps baiting him into bigger attacks. Gear 5 comes out, the clouds turn rubbery, the bell rings by itself, and the whole sky temple shakes. Then Luffy stops. He realizes Urouge is protecting something, not hoarding it, and so the mood changes. Luffy knocks him through the gate with one clean hit that avoids the altar completely. Urouge laughs while bleeding, admits the test is over, and shows them the final road poneglyph hidden behind the gate. Urouge is a final gatekeeper here, not a villain. He warns Luffy that Blackbeard is also moving, and says the last road does not belong to the strongest, but rather the one who can carry the weight without becoming a tyrant. Now that's the lightest path. In the second theory, Urouge becomes a real antagonist because he believes pirates are unworthy of Laugh Tale. The Straw Hats arrive on Elbaph and hear that ships searching for the final road poneglyph vanish near a black storm around the upper coast. Giants refuse to sail near it. They say he arrived years ago from the sky, wounded after challenging Big Mom's territory, and the Giants allowed him to recover because he carried an old sky oath. Robin starts connecting pieces. The missing road poneglyph once sat at Fishman Island. Someone moved it after Roger's era. The man marked by flames is rumored to sail on a black ship and create whirlpools. But what if those rumors are only half right? What if the black ship is circling Elbaph's cloud layer above the water, creating storms below it? That's when Urouge attacks. The Sunny is lifted into a violent spiral of wind and cloud. Frankie fights the wheel. Jinbei tries to read the current, but realizes it's being pushed from above. Nami sees the storm as a rhythm, almost like a prayer. Then Urouge drops from the sky onto the deck and crushes the mast with one blow. He's smiling, but there's no warmth in it. This Urouge has watched the worst generation tear the world apart. Kid brought destruction and got destroyed. Law chased revenge and nearly lost everything. Blackbeard is hunting history like meat. Even Luffy, from Urouge's perspective, has left chaos everywhere he goes. So the monk has reached a harsh conclusion. Pirates should never touch the final truth. Jinbei understands religious discipline and tries to reason with him. Sanji gets angry because Urouge threatens Nami and Robin. Their attacks only make him bigger. His power turns punishment into strength, making him feel like a perfect final monk villain. Every hit becomes a sermon. Every wound becomes judgment. Zoro steps in next. Zoro's slashes hurt him, but Urouge keeps turning pain into muscle. He swings his huge pillar-like weapon and forces Zoro to block with all 3 swords. The clash sends both of them through the cloud floor and into one of Elbaph's giant branches. Then Luffy arrives. This fight is uglier because Urouge isn't testing anymore. He's trying to stop Luffy permanently. He believes the power of Nika is too dangerous in pirate hands. He believes the Sun God should liberate people, while Luffy keeps dragging nations into war. Luffy gets angry at that because he's never claimed to be a god. He's just himself. Eventually, the Straw Hats change the rules. They stop giving Urouge clean damage to convert. Robin restrains his arms. Brook freezes his footing. Nami blinds the storm rhythm with lightning. Usopp fires traps instead of impact shots. Chopper identifies the stress points in his enlarged body. Then Luffy sends him crashing into the temple gate. Their teamwork is reminiscent of when they fought oars. And so Urouge loses, but he refuses to give them the stone. He would rather destroy the temple than let pirates pass. Robin is forced to read the road poneglyph while the ruins collapse. The crew escapes with only a partial print, meaning they can reach the final island's direction, but not perfectly. Urouge survives under the rubble smiling, because he's delayed the dawn and forced Luffy to prove himself again later. But the third theory is the real Urouge agenda. In this version, Urouge is Elbaph's final Mad Monk villain, guarding the last road poneglyph for a reason tied to the Void Century. Urouge peace believers, this one's for you. The Straw Hats reach the highest region of Elbaph and find a sky sanctuary older than the giant kingdom itself. It's built from island cloud, giant stone, and strange metal that looks like the ruins of the Moon City from Enel's cover story. Robin reads the walls and realizes the sanctuary was built by sky people who fled after an ancient disaster. They did not come to Elbaph by accident. They were carrying something red, something the Blue Sea could not be trusted with. The final road poneglyph. Then Urouge appears at the altar and everything makes sense. The monk clothes, the prayer beads, the constant smile, the damage-based power. His life has been built around one doctrine: suffering reveals worth. If someone cannot endure pain without losing themselves, they're unfit to receive sacred truth. That's why he invaded Big Mom's territory during the time skip. He wasn't chasing fame, he was measuring emperors. He defeated Snack, tasted the power of a Yonko crew, then lost a cracker and learned the difference between ambition and readiness. After that, he withdrew to Elbaph because he knew the final race would eventually come to him. This Urouge has already rejected Shanks, rejected Kid before Shanks destroyed him, and waited for Luffy and Blackbeard. The battle begins when Blackbeard's ship arrives below the clouds. Van Augur warps commanders onto the sanctuary. Shiryu cuts through the sky guards. Devon tries to impersonate one of the giants. The Straw Hats realize Urouge wasn't only protecting the stone from them as a personal grudge. He was holding the line against everyone. Then Urouge turns. He declares that Luffy and Blackbeard are the same kind of danger. Two Ds dragging the world toward an answer it may not survive. So he will defeat both crews, destroy the road poneglyph, and end the Pirates' Age final race himself. That forces a three-way war. Blackbeard wants the stone, Luffy wants the root, Urouge wants nobody to have it. This is where he especially becomes terrifying. His devil fruit thrives in a battle full of monsters. Burgess hits him and he grows. Sanji kicks him and he grows. Zoro cuts him and he grows. Even stray shockwaves from Teach's darkness and quakes feed him. The longer the battle lasts, the more Urouge turns into a giant monk demon standing over the altar, laughing through broken teeth. Blackbeard tries to absorb him with darkness, but Urouge's power is pain converted into force, and Teach's own attacks become fuel. Urouge doesn't beat Blackbeard easily, but Teach cannot treat him like a normal opponent. He has to avoid feeding the monk too much power. Luffy understands the answer before anyone else. Urouge cannot be beaten through bigger violence. He has to be beaten by someone who can take the punishment instead. So Luffy stops trying to overpower him and starts changing the rhythm of the fight. Gear 5 turns the sanctuary into a rubber battlefield. Not to mock Urouge, but to direct impact away from the altar and away from the crew. Zoro's role becomes cutting the vows. He targets the prayer change and ancient restraints that let Urouge draw power from the sanctuary. Sanji protects Robin while she reads the stone in the middle of the war. Jinbei keeps Blackbeard's crew from reaching the rubbing. Nami controls the storm below, so the Sunny can escape. Usopp lands one impossible shot that breaks the bell above the altar and interrupts Urouge's final prayer. Then Luffy finally wins. Rather than killing Urouge, he takes every bit of the monk's accumulated punishment, stands back up, and punches him with a blow that carries no hatred. That breaks Urouge. He spent his life believing pain reveals the truth. Luffy shows him that pain can be carried without turning it into judgment. Urouge falls laughing. Robin gets the full print of the poneglyph. Blackbeard is forced to retreat with only fragments. The sanctuary collapses, but Urouge survives, staring at the open sky as if his god finally answered him. The implications are massive. The Straw Hats now have the final route. Blackbeard knows part of it. Urouge becomes the last Supernova to truly step onto the board, not as a joke or forgotten side character, but as the guardian who nearly ended the race to Laugh Tale. This makes him Elbaph's final Mad Monk villain, strong enough to challenge the Straw Hats and Blackbeard, while guarding the one stone the world still needs. And if Oda has really saved Urouge this long, then maybe the joke was never that he had no role. Maybe the joke was that the strongest Supernova agenda was waiting above everyone's heads the entire time. And that begs the question, what would happen if Luffy himself was evil, even with the Nika fruit? Well, that's the subject of this other video. Click on this video to see what it would be like if Luffy was resurrected with his memories and became evil. Go ahead, click it.